Hey, how are you today? This is Josh Patrick, and you're at Cracking the Cash Flow Code, and you are in for a treat today. Today we have Mitch Meador from the Brand Nerd ID. And Mitch, I met because a client of mine found him when we were trying to do a StoryBrand site for him. He really liked the stuff that Mitch did. I looked at it. I talked to Mitch. I've been working with Mitch a little bit with this client, and I thought he was the type of guy you needed to hear from. He is full of tons of great information. And in our 22 or 23 minutes we're going to spend together, we are not going to even touch the surface. So I'm going to bring Mitch on right now, and we're going to start with, he has a great question, marketing versus branding. And we're going to do this answer to this in the realm of a blue collar business. So let's bring Mitch on. Hey, Mitch, how are you today?
Hey Josh, thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm excited to talk about marketing and whatever else we can get into.
Well, I'm sure we could get into tons, but we only have 23 minutes, so that's about all we
Exactly.
can do. So
Yep.
let's start off with my question. Your question you put there: marketing versus branding.
hmm
Which is more important?
Well, that's a great topic because I am the brand nerd. So I have an affinity for branding, obviously. Um, but at the same time, I really truly believe that the two are inseparable. I mean, I think when it really boils down to it, we should define a little bit about what marketing is versus what branding is. And really, at the end of the day, marketing touches so much of what you do in business. And me and you have had that discussion before. Really, even in the way that you position your products is the obvious one, but then there's also how do we talk about our products and services, and then branding is really more. It's about how do you feel about a company. When you say something like Coca-Cola, they've created a brand that they immediately know how you feel. Or Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, the classic versus the cheeky upstart. They've created a brand. Um, so when it comes to a business, um, you might think because I'm the brand nerd, I'm going to go, well, it's all about brand. You've got to build a brand. The reality is, for most businesses, marketing is it should be your priority. Marketing is the act of putting your products out there. Brand should be a part of that. You should spend time thinking about what your brand is, but marketing, the act of selling your products, putting them out there, advertising, promoting, that is the thing that actually is the engine of your business. So what's more important? I would say marketing. And then once you get to a certain echelon, that's when brand really starts to come in. Um, if you're Coke, you can do a whole commercial about polar bears because everybody already knows what the brown sugar water is that you sell. But if you're in an industry where people aren't as familiar with what you do, you need to spend more time talking about what you do, which is marketing.
It seems to me that branding is a subset of marketing, actually. My
Yeah,
my definition of marketing is marketing creates awareness, and branding is part of creating awareness. So for me, if you're marketing and you're doing a good job of that, you're also creating a brand at the same time because you're building avatars and you're talking to your tribe, and your tribe actually helps you create what your brand looks like, I think. Does that
certainly.
make sense?
That makes sense to me. Certainly, I think there's um, when you talk about a brand being the way it makes you feel, um, the way you market, you can create a brand. So if you're um, a business coach, you can create a lot of different brands. You can be the blue collar business coach. You can be the high end business coach. You can be um, you can have different types of brands within there, and then but at the end of the day, you are a business coach and you need to get your message out there.
Yes. And I also know that you're a StoryBrand consultant. You're a
Hmm.
certified StoryBrand consultant, actually.
Yep.
And can you take just a second and in like maybe 60 seconds tell us what StoryBrand is? Because I think it's such an important tie-in between the two.
Yeah. StoryBrand is a messaging framework that actually takes the elements of story and uses it for marketing. So messaging, you can't get around the fact that people don't buy products until they hear words that convince them to do so. So it would behoove you to spend time thinking about the words you're using, and that's your messaging. So StoryBrand is actually taking elements of story. We love stories. We love going to the movies, and we can sit through a 2-hour movie and it feels like no time passed at all. Today, especially in the COVID era, you could spend 8 hours on the couch watching Netflix and feel like no time passed at all. The story is something that we're very compelled by. So if you use the basics of story, the formula of story in your marketing, it's that much more compelling.
That makes sense to me. And here's the other thing around story, which I think is really important. I have this stupid habit, or actually it's kind of an obnoxious habit, where when I connect with somebody on LinkedIn, I ask them to send me their website, and then I go check it out.
Yep.
And about 95% of the time, the website is the messaging on the website is terrible. And the reason it's
Right.
terrible is the company is making themselves into the hero. It's all about me, 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 and nothing about you, who's the customer. And the reason I really like the StoryBrand framework, first, I love frameworks because it makes it easy to write. That's one thing. I tell people I can write 1,500 words in a half an hour, and they say, "How do you do that?" And I say, "I have a framework."
There you go.
And if you have a framework, writing fast is easy as long as you can type fast, um,
Right.
or just dictate. If you can't type
Exactly.
fast. But the truth is, and what Donald Miller, who's the originator of StoryBrand, has done brilliantly, I think, is brought out the concept of the hero and the guide.
Yep.
And we want to be a guide, especially in the blue collar world. In the blue collar world, people do not want you to be the hero. They want you to have a solution to their problem. They want you to guide them through that solution, but they're the hero of their story. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah. That's you hit it. That last sentence is exactly right. Everybody wants to be the hero in their own story. So when a person is looking at your marketing message, they're not looking at it through the lens of I need a hero to come save me. No, they're going, I am the hero. I need somebody to help me accomplish the mission. So if I love Star Wars. I'm the brand nerd, and the nerd part of it means I have to love Star Wars, or else my nerd card gets revoked. So, the great parallel with marketing in Star Wars is people don't want you to be Luke Skywalker. They want you to be Obi-Wan Kenobi. They want you to be the wise old man who's been there before. He knows what to do. He's going to give you a plan. He's going to tell you about the Force. He's got a framework, the Force or whatever you want, and
Right.
he's going to tell you how you can go and blow up your Death Star. So yeah, don't make yourself Luke Skywalker. People aren't looking for that. They're looking for old Ben Kenobi.
Yeah. So that really is good. I mean, if I'm let's say I'm an electrical contractor,
Yep.
and the problem that I'm going to solve is I am going to wire your house in a safe manner so it's not going to burn down.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be talking about all the stuff I use to do that. I just need to help you realize you have a problem, which you may not even recognize you have as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But my job is to help you understand you have a problem, or even better yet, an opportunity that you're not taking advantage of. And I have been there. I've done it. I can guide you through the process where you're the hero. One of the things I had to learn when I was first getting into the business of advice is that I could not be the hero in the conversation I was having with the client. I didn't realize that. But what I did realize was I would feed ideas. Business owners often, because business owners are really type A people and they don't like to have anybody come up with an idea except them, and they tell me it's the dumbest idea they've ever heard. And then a month they come back later. A month they would come back. A month later they come back and say, "I just had this great idea." It was exactly what I told them a month ago, and I had to learn to say, "Well, that's part of the deal."
Exactly.
So now, when I work with somebody, I feed them an idea, expecting them to shoot it down, knowing that they're going to come back sometime in the future. It might be a week, it might be a month, it might be a year, but to say, I've got this great idea. And then it's my job at that point to say, I love your idea. Let's work on a strategy to implement it.
Yeah, that's a great
And when
point.
you do that, you're being a guide. And when we're marketing, especially in the blue collar world, because blue collar people just don't do this, we need to be talking to people about the success path that they're going to go on.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's something that a guy named Stu McLaren came up, and he uses it for membership sites, membership organizations. And the truth is, with a membership, you have a success path. But anything that you do with a customer, there's a success path. In the sales world, it's called a pipeline.
Right.
If I do
Exactly.
this, I do this, I do this, and I do this, I'm going to get a customer at the end of the pipeline. But first, we got to go through the process. And that's the same in all businesses. Basically, it comes down to, what is your path that you're taking your customers on?
That's exactly right.
And
It's you if you don't hand people a plan, um, they have a hard time knowing where they're going to go. You know, you're the expert. You know exactly what they need to do, and you might come up with a brilliant idea that they shoot down the first time they hear it. You know what they need to do. But you know, when you are not the expert, it's sometimes hard to um, envision what success looks like and envision the step-by-step plan. So it's really our job as marketers, and I believe that everyone who is involved in business is a marketer at some level. It's our job as marketers to hand them a plan, to show them kind of the baby steps that this you're here and we're going there. And this, you know, there is success, and here's how we're going to do it, and make that really digestible, make it really clear and easy to understand. Don't overwhelm them with your brilliant technologies and things that they don't understand. You know, give them uh, plain, simple language that helps them see what those baby steps are to success.
yeah, one of my favorite things to say is, what we're going to do is simple. It's just not easy.
There you go. Yep, that's
And
exactly
if
right.
something's simple, you're going to understand it. You may say, this is a lot of work, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. Well, that's what I'm for. I'm here to guide you through the step and walk by you step by step as you make the transition from where you are to where you want to go. And one of the things that's really useful, I have a friend named Susan Bradley who has developed a program called Sudden Money. And in there, she has these 4 stages of transition. And frankly, when you're asking somebody to make a change, which is what you're doing when you're marketing, is you're taking them through those 4 stages of transition, which is anticipation. I'm going to anticipate I've got a change coming down the road. The ending, we actually are now at the end of where we were, moving to where we're going to go. Passage, which is really uncomfortable and ugly and confusing, which is where we are really useful. And then we have a new normal, which is what you get after passage as you move into a new thing. One of my favorite ways to use an example for this is learning how to delegate,
Hmm.
because nobody knows how to delegate out of the box. I have never, and I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years now. So I've
Sure.
never met somebody who was a good delegator when they started. It's a learned skill, and it's a hard skill to learn. It's simple, but it's not easy. I mean,
Yeah.
to be a good delegator is a very simple process. I set an expectation, I inspect to make sure it happens, and then I accept it. But I can tell you there's like 9 zillion things that go wrong while you're trying to learn how to do that. So,
Exactly. Yeah. And as a business owner of 5 years, I can tell you, I relate to that all too well. Um, you tend to want to hold on to control, but at the end of the day, it's the delegation that actually leads to scalability. And so, yeah, I'm going through the uncomfortable part of that right now with my business, and it's really exciting because I can see the other side of it, and it's a really exciting spot. Um, but yeah, I can relate to that 100%.
Well, the key here is the concept of mistakes. And I'm going to actually bring this back to marketing because it's true with marketing also, is that if you do small experiments along the way, which I call fail fast, fail cheap, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be success at the end of the road. You may not, the success you get may be completely different than what you thought it was going to be when you started. Because fail fast, fail cheap means I'm going to experiment, keep what works, and let go what doesn't work. And the same thing with marketing. With marketing, if you're not doing small experiments along the way, I mean, it's called A/B testing in marketing world,
Hmm.
where I test one thing against another thing. You might be spending a lot of time and effort going down the absolute incorrect road. So, how do
For
you help
sure.
manage that with your customers, Mitch?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when it comes to testing, we believe that wholeheartedly. If you're, one of the more advanced marketing strategies that we have today is digital advertising, and so there's a lot that goes into that, and people tend to go, okay, well, I'm going to come up with a digital ad, and I'm going to run a digital ad with a message that leads to, a product. Um, People actually, even myself as an expert, I can't pick the one ad that's going to resonate with an audience. I'm not Nostradamus. I can't do that. But what I can do is I can come up with 5 to 10 that are all in the ballpark of what we think is going to really hit it. And then when you run 5 to 10 ads at smaller levels, then you can find the ads that are performing the best, and you can bump up the volume on those. And that's how you actually, um, you know, can test a message in an advertising sense to see results.
So, I have a question for you because this has been something that's been more than a minor annoyance. I mean, it's cost me a lot of money over the last 5 years, which is how do you know if the marketing person you're talking to is any good? Because I've dealt with a lot of marketing people, and I will tell you that it is a really small percentage who are any good at all at what they do. So you're in that world.
Yeah.
What kind of advice would you give somebody who's looking for a marketing consultant, marketing firm, somebody to help them with building awareness of who they are?
Well, that's a very common problem, and I wanna empathize with fellow marketers out there and say that a lot of marketers are they're creative people, so they're very right brain. The rare the rare exception is the right brain left brain marketer, somebody who can see both sides. And I fancy myself as one of those people that actually kind of has both the creative juices but also the business mind. But my business mind has to keep my creative mind in check. And so a lot of times what happens with marketing is we want to go creative, 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 um, and we tend to forget about the real world results. We're not just it, creating a brand is great, but only if it leads to sales, right? We're not creating a brand for no reason. And in the same way, your marketing has to lead results. That's why I'm a big believer in frameworks. I love things like the StoryBrand framework that actually gives you a prescription for what you're going to do. So you can take a really creative person and put them in this framework and let them work through it. And we have our own, in addition to the StoryBrand framework, which is the powerful tool that we use at BrandNerd for messaging. we have our own marketing fundamentals that we prescribe to our customers and say, hey, here's how you can actually use marketing that works. And there's kind of there's the fundamentals, and then there's the more advanced side of it too. So that's what I would say. I would say pick their brain, see if they have that business side of things under control, see if they have any frameworks. What is your prescription? And then the last thing I would say is talk to their customers. I've on more than one occasion handed somebody uh, handed somebody my portfolio and say, call any of them. I don't care. They'll,
Right.
I'm confident in the answers they're going to give you. And it's not to say that everything we've ever done has been perfect and everything we've ever done has worked with 100% efficacy, but I'm very confident that we have the frameworks and the tools to help people. So, and we're not alone. There's a lot of really great marketers out there, and StoryBrand guides are a good place to start too.
Cool. So I have one more question. We have time for one more question. And my question is, in the blue collar business world, how important are testimonials? And if they are important, why are they important?
Um, Testimonials are the online version of word of mouth advertising in many ways. You know, back in the day, and still today, it's not just back in the day, but word of mouth advertising, if somebody makes a recommendation to you, that's extremely powerful. So that's part of it. The other thing that's powerful is earlier we talked about how, as experts, we tend to have this curse of knowledge. It's hard for us to dumb down our expertise to a level that somebody can understand. The the great thing about a customer testimonial is they are using their own words, and most likely they're speaking to another customer who is at a similar expertise level to them, and so the words they're using add up. And I think the best testimonials, if you'll allow me to vamp a little further on that, is the best testimonial is actually a small story in itself. A customer overcomes a problem within the testimonial. I was struggling with choosing an electrical contractor because I wanted my home to be safe on day one and 10 years from now, and I was afraid of hidden mistakes. I worked with company XYZ, and not only did they wire my home and every light works just the way I wanted it to, but they actually upgraded yada 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 to this technology, so now I never have to worry about electrical again. So there's actually a story there where they started with a problem, they talked about how it made them feel, and they overcame that in the end, but with the help of the company, of the electrical contractor. So that makes a great testimonial.
Cool. Hey, Mitch, unfortunately, we are out of time. And it goes by fast.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
So I'm going to bet there's going to be some people listening or watching that would like to find you. The people watching can find you easily because your URL is right on the screen. But for those folks listening to this podcast, where can they find you?
TheBrandNerd.com. If you search Brand Nerd, I'll pop right up.
Cool. That's great. I have two things I'd like you to do. One is really, 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 really important, which is wherever you're listening to this podcast, please go and give us an honest, and I mean honest, rating review. If you like the show, say you love it. If you hate it, okay, say you hate it, but just give us a review. And the second thing is I developed this thing, which I started off as like kind of a joke one day. A friend of mine did this periodic table of estate planning elements. And I said, well, that's kind of cool. That's a nice takeoff on the periodic table that we learned about chemistry in high school. And I said, well, there's an awful lot of strategies that are out there for business owners, privately held business owners. So I put together this thing called the periodic table of business elements, and you can get it free. It's easy to get. You just go to www.stage2planning.com/periodic. That's www.stage2planning.com/periodic, and you'll get the periodic table sent right to you. So this is Josh Patrick. We're with Mitch Meador. You're at Cracking the Cashflow Code. Thanks a lot for stopping by. I hope to see you back here really soon.